Since 1955, Disneyland has captivated and entertained millions with its collection of rides, shows and experiences. During the park's 70-year history, many attractions have come and gone, some reimagined, others replaced altogether. Join us as we journey through time to rediscover these now forgotten rides. Making its debut as an opening day attraction was the Mule Pack. The attraction allowed guests to ride actual mules through the trails of Frontierland, embodying Walt Disney's vision of bringing the spirit of the American West to life. The idea was simple: recreate the experience of frontier explorers who relied on these animals to carry them through rough terrain. Guests saddled up and joined the mule trains, which wound their way along the trails. However, in its first year, the scenery was sparse. Despite this, the 10-minute tour became a guest's favourite. As part of a $2 million expansion in 1956, the mining town of Rainbow Ridge was added, and the attraction became Rainbow Ridge Pack Mules. Now guests would track through the streets of this small settlement before venturing through the undeveloped desert and along the waterfront. When the e-ticket was introduced in 1959, the Pack Mules were one of the attractions in the top tier, such was its popularity. Further plussed, a 1960 expansion would see the area through which the mules trekked be transformed into nature's wonderland. The project included 204 animated animals, the 75-foot Cascade Peak, and new environments inspired by Walt Disney's true-life adventures. The enhanced attraction became the Pack Mules Through Nature's Wonderland in June that year. Each pack would have one lead horse with 9 mules, with the park owning 50 to 75 mules at a time, the animals rotating through different shifts during the day. As Disneyland evolved and Frontierland became a bustling town, guests began to ignore the slower attractions in favour of more exciting rides in other lands. The Pack Mules were also difficult to operate. The stubborn animals would often slow down, change direction, or stop to nibble on some scenery. The Pack Mules Through Nature's Wonderland would cease operation in 1973, with the adjacent mine train still operating for a number of years. Eventually, much of the area that had been home to the unpredictable mules was replaced by Big Thunder Mountain Railroad in 1979 and Big Thunder Ranch in 1986, although Cascade Peak remained into 1998. Opening in July of 1956, the Rainbow Caverns Mine Ride was a miniature train offering a scenic journey for those on board. The mine train took guests through the newly created living desert, shared with the stagecoach ride, Conestoga wagons and pack mules. The arid landscape contained numerous rock formations, desert planting and a curious cave. Starting in the town of Rainbow Ridge, guests would board an open-topped ore car pulled by a dark green locomotive for a journey to witness the sights and sounds of the living desert. While similar vistas could be experienced on the area's other attractions, only the mine train visited the beautiful Rainbow Caverns. Inside, pools of water glowed in vibrant hues, while colourful cascades and soft music added to the mysterious ambience. The attraction would expand in 1960. Imagineer Mark Davis had been tasked with injecting humour into Disneyland's attractions, and the Rainbow Caverns Mine Ride provided the perfect opportunity. The previously traversed landscape was incorporated into the redesign, and the new mine train through Nature's Wonderland debuted in June that year. As guests boarded the mine train, they embarked on a scenic adventure, winding through the vibrant desert landscapes, passing the towering rock formations of Cascade Peak, and journeyed through Beaver Valley. Each scene was now filled with intricate details and animatronic animals, from howling coyotes and playful bear cubs, to lumbering moose and prancing deer, creating an immersive attraction that celebrated the natural world as well as Davis's trademark sight gags. The train passed iconic features like Balancing Rock Canyon, where precariously stacked boulders swayed as if defying gravity, and the mighty Cascade Falls, which flowed down from its forested cliffs. The train ride still visited the colourful Rainbow Caverns as part of the tour. This newer version of the attraction featured a recorded narration. An old miner would act as your tour guide, delivering a relaxed and humorous overview of the sights along the route. Eventually, the ride would suffer a similar fate to its neighbours. Disneyland was evolving, and a new generation of thrill rides was being added. Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland closed on January 2nd, 1977, to make way for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This roller coaster shared a similar theme with its predecessor, and retained the Rainbow Ridge sets as part of its queue and loading area. As a further homage, the bubbling pools of Rainbow Caverns can be seen deep within the mountain. The motorboat cruise is one of the lesser-known yet fondly remembered attractions from the park's early days. Introduced in 1957, the motorboat cruise was part of a growing lineup of transportation-themed rides that allowed guests to explore Disneyland's various lands in novel ways. Located on the border of Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, this gentle water-based ride invited visitors to captain their own small motorboats through a serene lagoon. Guests boarded small brightly coloured motorboats on a small dock. The single bench seat could hold 2 or 3 passengers. While the boats were designed to give the illusion of being driven by the guests, they were actually guided by an underwater track. The ride's pace was leisurely, allowing passengers to take in the sights and enjoy a peaceful, relaxing escape from the hustle and bustle of the park. The winding waterway meandered through scenic landscapes, including lush greenery and whimsical rock formations, adding to the tranquil ambience. The motorboat cruise was not the most thrilling of Disneyland's attractions, but it held a special place for families with younger children. It provided a gentle alternative to the more intense rides in Fantasyland and Tomorrowland, and it complemented Disneyland's broader mission of offering something for everyone. The appeal of the ride lay in its simplicity, a peaceful interactive journey that let guests feel like they were in control of their own adventure. Over the years, the motorboat cruise remained relatively unchanged, though its surroundings evolved. The foliage around the attraction steadily grew, and the monorail would eventually glide overhead, the dock and route punctuated with its support pylons. By the early 1990s, the ride's popularity had waned, and it was starting to feel somewhat dated compared to newer attractions. For 1991, the attraction received a slight retheming, as Motorboat cruised to Gummy Glen, tying it to the popular animated series Disney's Adventures of the Gummy Bears. The overlay introduced small scenes and painted plywood character cutouts, with the core of the ride remaining the same. The Motorboat cruise was ultimately retired in 1993. The closure rumoured to be due to a reallocation of budgets to the new Mickey's Toontown that opened the same year. Today, the ride's lagoon area remains, repurposed as part of the Disneyland landscape. The loading pier can still be seen in the park. Complete with benches, it provides a shaded seating area for the nearby Edelweiss snacks. Becoming the first aerial ropeway in the United States, the Skyway opened on June 10, 1956. For the cost of a D ticket, guests could take a one-way trip through the skies above Disneyland. Starting at a fanciful station in Fantasyland, or a more futuristic one in Tomorrowland, guests would ride in round bucket-shaped gondolas holding 2 passengers. Soaring over the Magic Kingdom below, riders were treated to a bird's-eye view of the park's many attractions during the 3.5-minute flight. The Fantasyland station was themed to a Swiss chalet and was surrounded by an alpine garden. The station housed the attraction's powerful machinery that allowed the cable to circle overhead. The 1,250-foot route was supported by 6 towers as it progressed towards Tomorrowland. The station here was designed with a more modern industrial motif and contained a 35,000-pound counterweight to keep the cable tight. The new attraction proved instantly popular, but as soon as 1957 the Skyway closed. This closure allowed for the construction of the Matterhorn that would open in 1959. This mountain took the place of the Skyway's tallest support tower, and riders would pass through the centre of the park's newest thrill ride. Despite a glacier grotto being promised on the guide map, the interior was in fact empty, with riders receiving a glimpse of the structural support. Capacity on the Skyway was doubled in 1965. The original circular buckets were replaced with the more familiar square-shaped design, now holding 4 passengers. The ride was updated again in 1978. The interior of the Matterhorn was renovated to include icy caverns, with guests receiving an encounter with the dreaded abominable snowman. For most of its life, the Skyway offered one-way trips. However, during the early 1980s Fantasyland renovation, riders were boarded at Tomorrowland for a round trip. The Fantasyland station was used as a turnaround, with riders returning to Tomorrowland to conclude their journey. After almost 40 years at Disneyland, the Skyway would close with little notice on 9th of November 1994. At the time, it was stated the decision was due to declining ridership. However, it is speculated that the closure was due to stress cracks in the Matterhorn support that would be costly and difficult to repair. The remaining supports and Tomorrowland Station were removed shortly after closure, with the Fantasyland station standing until 2016, when it was demolished to allow for the construction of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Debuting on 25th of December 1955, Mike Fink keelboats joined the busy Rivers of America for the park's first Christmas season. The attraction was based on the popular Davy Crockett miniseries that aired as part of the Disneyland television show. The original boats were actual props from the show itself, the vessels modified to include seats and introduce windows. The keelboats, named after characters from the show, Gully Wumper and Bertha May, took guests on scenic cruises around the Rivers of America, offering a unique perspective of Disneyland's Frontierland. Unlike other boats on the Rivers of America, such as the stately Mark Twain, the keelboats were smaller and more intimate, but didn't require the physical effort like the nearby canoes. Guests were guided by a skipper who often provided a humorous and playful narration, making each journey unique. The boats were powered by gas engines, but they maintained the appearance of the rustic vessels seen in the Davy Crockett series. Guests could choose to ride in the enclosed interior or sit in the open air atop the roof. For most of their life, the Mike Fink keelboats would operate on a seasonal basis, usually during the busy summer period or peak weekends. The original crafts would eventually be replaced by larger versions, retaining the rustic feel but increasing capacity. The boats would close after summer 1994, not operational the following year, leading some to question if they would ever reopen. For summer 1996, the boats were back, but their return would be short-lived. In May the following year, the Gully Wumper was taking a routine voyage when it began to rock side to side. It would capsize, a boatload of passengers being plunged into the Rivers of America. Thankfully, those on board only suffered minor injuries. Following the accident, the Gully Wumper would be removed from the water for inspection, and neither it or the Bertha May would ever operate again. Though the keelboats no longer sail the Rivers of America, one of the boats returned and was docked on Tom Sawyer Island as a tribute to this beloved but long-gone attraction. The waters were not kind to the ageing vessel, and damage would cause it to be removed in 2009. Becoming the first Disneyland attraction to be cloned from the new Walt Disney World, Country Bear Jamboree opened on March 4, 1972. The original concept of the attraction was as part of the never-realised Disney's Mineral King Ski Resort. The resort was never constructed, but the idea of a musical revue featuring animatronic bears remained, with Country Bear Jamboree becoming an opening day attraction at Walt Disney World in 1971. The Country Bears were an instant success, the single theatre regularly playing to capacity audiences. The overwhelming popularity led to plans being made to create a version on the West Coast. The attraction would be located in a brand new land, Bear Country. This 4-acre area cost $8 million and took the place of the former Indian village in Frontierland. The headline attraction of Disneyland's Seventh Land would be the Country Bear Jamboree. This version would feature 2 identical theatres, doubling the capacity, ready to deal with the expected crowds the new attraction would draw. Country Bear Jamboree required an e-ticket, and guests wanting to experience the show would pass under the attraction's marquee and cross over a small stream on a covered bridge. They would wind through the trees and reach a Western-themed foyer. From here, they would be admitted to one of the 2 theatres and seated on benches. The 16-minute show featured a cast of animatronic bears and other critters who would entertain guests with wisecracking jokes and country music. Their master of ceremonies was Henry, who would introduce the performances. The cast of characters would rise from the stage, appear from behind curtains, or even descend from the ceiling. The style would switch from ballads to upbeat toe-tapping numbers, fitting with the variety performance. The musical revue would even feature seasonal overlays, including a Christmas special playing in 1984 and a Vacation Hoedown starting in 1986. Whether due to its location in the park or audience preference, the Disneyland version never reached the popularity of its Walt Disney World counterpart, and the 2 theatres were rarely needed. In the 1990s, another bear was peaking in popularity, Winnie the Pooh. A successful ride had been created at Walt Disney World based on Pooh and Friends, with a version earmarked for Disneyland. Country Bear Jamboree would close to make way for this, the Playhouse giving its last performances on September 9, 2001. The space was repurposed, and the many adventures of Winnie the Pooh opened on April 11, 2003. But the former bears were not forgotten. As a tribute to Country Bear Jamboree, the heads of Max the deer, Melvin the moose and Buff the bison are mounted on a wall inside the ride. The whimsical and colourful Mickey's Toontown opened at Disneyland on January 24, 1993. Embodying the playful, cartoonish spirit of the land was Jolly Trolley. Opening with Toontown in 1993, the Jolly Trolley was designed to transport guests through the vibrant streets of Toontown, offering a fun and bouncy ride that felt like stepping into an animated world. The trolley itself was a double-sided, brightly coloured vehicle with a vintage cartoonish design that fit perfectly with the exaggerated architecture of Toontown. The attraction featured only one station, so was not a true transportation ride, and guests would board at a trolley stop in the centre of the land. Its path looped around Toontown on a set of rails, the tour passing Mickey's House, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin, and Gadget's Go Coaster. While the Jolly Trolley was small and slow-moving, its charm lay in the fact that it wasn't just a regular mode of transport, it had character. The trolley rocked back and forth as it moved, making it feel like the trolley had a mind of its own, as if it were a character in a cartoon. For families with small children, the Jolly Trolley was a delightful way to get a lay of the land, while enjoying a short, quirky ride. The gentle rocking of the trolley added a sense of fun that made it a bit more dynamic than simply walking through Toontown. The drivers, often in character, added to the atmosphere, with lively interactions, making the brief journey even more engaging. However, as Toontown grew more crowded in the years following its opening, the Jolly Trolley began to face operational challenges. The narrow streets of Toontown, combined with increasing foot traffic, made it difficult for the trolley to operate safely. As guests flocked to the land, particularly families with strollers, the trolley's track often became congested, leading to frequent stoppages and slower rides. By the early 2000s, the decision was made to suspend regular operation of the Jolly Trolley. The ride was gradually phased out, and by 2003 it was no longer transporting guests. A single trolley car remained as a static display for several years, allowing visitors to take photos or have a seat. Opened in 1986, Big Thunder Ranch was an interactive family-friendly area that combined a petting zoo, live entertainment and seasonal events, all within a Western-themed environment that celebrated the spirit of the American frontier. The location had formerly been home to Nature's Wonderland, but the smaller footprint of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad had left a large plot of land available. Tucked away behind the roller coaster's rocky peaks, the ranch offered guests a peaceful escape from the excitement of the park's more fast-paced attractions. Originally opening with a traditional log cabin, petting zoo and dining area. The petting zoo, known as Big Thunder Ranch Petting Farm, allowed guests to interact with an array of animals. One of the most famous of these was Mickey Moo, a Frisian cow with a distinct Mickey Mouse silhouette on her side. In addition to the petting zoo, Big Thunder Ranch Barbecue offered guests a Western-style dining experience. With its outdoor seating under the shade of trees, the barbecue area was a popular spot for families to gather and relax. Big Thunder Ranch would be redeveloped in 1996. In order to tie in with Disney's latest animated film, the space would become Festival of Fools. The petting zoo was removed to make way for an outdoor theatre, as characters from The Hunchback of Notre Dame brought the story to life. After Festival of Fools completed its run in 1998, the ranch would close. Used as a special events area, it looked unlikely to ever again open to the public. However, in 2004, to promote the animated feature Home on the Range, the ranch would once again reopen, with a little patch of heaven overlay. Designed to be a permanent addition, the petting zoo was back, and the full area took on a light theme based around the film. Possibly due to Home on the Range's lacklustre reception, the overlay was short-lived and quietly removed, with Big Thunder Ranch becoming the official name once more. The area would also play host to a variety of seasonal events and holiday celebrations. During Halloween, the ranch would transform, with special decorations and appearances by Disney characters dressed in festive costumes. At Christmas, it featured holiday-themed entertainment, crafts, and live reindeer that added to the festive atmosphere. Big Thunder Ranch was eventually closed on January 11, 2016, to make way for the development of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Today, the area is unrecognisable, with Kylo Ren's TIE fighter ship located where the ranch once sat. The story of Tarzan's treehouse at Disneyland begins with the Swiss Family Treehouse, opening on November 18, 1962. This original Adventureland attraction was inspired by the 1960 Walt Disney film Swiss Family Robinson, itself based on the 1812 novel. Guests were invited to climb through an elaborately constructed treehouse built in a massive artificial tree. The treehouse was made to look like it was cobbled together by the shipwrecked Robinson family using salvaged items from the Titus. The structure stood 70 feet tall, with a staircase of 68 steps leading guests through different themed rooms, all meticulously detailed to reflect the Robinsons' resourcefulness. The home even featured running water, courtesy of a water wheel, an ingenious system of pulleys. For over 3 decades, the Swiss Family Treehouse remained a beloved Disneyland attraction, even spawning versions at Disney parks around the world. As the new millennium approached, there had been an increased effort to fold contemporary characters into the park as part of the company's synergy ethos. Park president Paul Pressler was also looking to increase merchandise opportunities. The original tree was suffering with structural issues, and Pressler saw the area as somewhat of a crossroads, perfect for a new gift shop. Imagineer Tony Baxter will pitch an idea to instead renovate the aging tree and fold in a new storyline based on the upcoming animated film Tarzan. Pitching with a low budget sealed the deal, and the Swiss Family Treehouse closed in March 1999, ready for a transformation. The structure of the tree itself was enhanced, its 6,000 leaves replaced. The conversion also included the construction of a new tree and rope bridge that would serve as the entrance. Opening on June 23, 1999, Tarzan's Treehouse would welcome guests just days after the film debuted in cinemas. Tarzan's Treehouse retained much of the physical structure of the original Swiss Family Treehouse, but was entirely rethemed. The rope bridge entrance led to a reimagined attraction, designed to reflect Tarzan's jungle home with elements of the film integrated throughout. The walkthrough experience now tells the story of Tarzan, from his orphan beginnings to his integration into the animal world, with key moments from the movie recreated in interactive life-size dioramas. Guests could see Jane teaching Tarzan about human life, or Carla, Tarzan's ape mother, caring for him as a child. As a nod to its previous residents, a gramophone would play the catchy melody of the Swiska polka. After more than 2 decades of serving as Tarzan's home, the treehouse was once again updated. Closing in November of 2021, it was subsequently announced the attraction would receive another retheme. The new version would remove the second tree and rope bridge that often caused a bottleneck in the congested Adventureland. Taking inspiration from the original attraction, Adventureland Treehouse, inspired by Walt Disney's Swiss Family Robinson, would open in November 2023. The new incarnation took cues from the original Swiss Family Robinson story, while incorporating modern design elements, creating a sense of nostalgia while offering a new experience for current audiences. Joining the other peaks within the park, Splash Mountain premiered at Disneyland in 1989. This log flume blended a thrilling ride experience with classic Disney storytelling to create a compelling headline attraction. The story of Splash Mountain began in the early 1980s, when Disney Imagineer Tony Baxter sought to create a new attraction that would breathe life into the underutilised Bear Country area of the park. Inspired during a long drive in Southern California, Baxter envisaged a ride that combined the excitement of a log flume with the whimsy and charm of classic Disney characters. The concept was also rooted in practicality. Disney sought a way to reuse the animatronics from the defunct America Sings attraction. Splash Mountain was born, incorporating characters and scenes from the 1946 Disney film Song of the South. On July 17, 1989, Splash Mountain officially opened to eager guests. It was an instant hit, combining storytelling, music, and the thrill of a 52-foot drop at a steep 47-degree angle. Riders embarked on an adventure, following the story of Brer Rabbit, as he outwitted the cunning Brer Fox and Brer Bear. The journey through the attraction was brought to life with over 100 animatronic figures, and featured catchy musical numbers, including Zippity-Doo-Dah, which soon became synonymous with the ride. Beyond the excitement of the drop, Splash Mountain stood out for its innovative blend of dark ride elements and flume thrills. It was one of the most elaborate attractions of its time, costing approximately $75 million, more than what it took to build Disneyland itself in 1955. The ride's runaway success ensured it was replicated at other Disney parks around the world, with a version opening at the Magic Kingdom and Tokyo Disneyland in October 1992. However, the ride was not without controversy. By the 2010s, the cultural representation in Song of the South came under renewed scrutiny, leading to a broader conversation about the future of Splash Mountain. In 2020, amid global calls for more inclusive representation, Disney announced that Splash Mountain would be reimagined, with a theme based on The Princess and the Frog. The final day for Splash Mountain at Disneyland came on May 31, 2023. Fans of the ride, many of whom had grown up with the attraction, queued for hours to experience one last journey with Brer Rabbit and friends. The ride's closure was met with a blend of nostalgia and acceptance as guests bid farewell to the beloved ride. The reimagined attraction, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, opened in November 2024. Utilising the existing ride system, this updated version takes guests past scenes from the 2009 animated film. Since its debut in 1955, Disneyland has thrilled and entertained generations of families. From nostalgic favourites like the Pack Mules and Mine Train, to groundbreaking attractions Splash Mountain and the Skyway, these experiences have helped shape the park's history. While visitors can no longer enjoy these lost rides, their legacy lives on with the memories of those who experienced them.